We are back to Safety in the Sportswriter show on Monday, the 20th of September, second week of football. We're getting ready for the Green Bay Lions shootout tonight on Monday Night Football. But another great weekend of the NFL. A lot of good action, but a lot of injuries too, and a lot of things we got to get to tonight. First of all, what did you think overall of the weekend we saw, Nate?
Man, I loved it. I thought there were some excellent football games. That game on Sunday night last night with the Chiefs and the Ravens, I was blown away by Lamar. I mean, I love him and I give him praise all the time, but every time I feel like, oh man, he's not going to do anything to surprise me, bam, here he goes. And this right here is his jump pass, his Tim Tebow impression. The only difference was he threw it like 40 yards. And he was up in the air. If you watch the replay here, he's in the air flipping it 40 yards to Hollywood Brown. And, when he can't throw it, as everyone says, but it seems like every time he throws it, it looks pretty damn good. He's probably one of the top 2 or 3 dynamic rushers in the NFL. I mean, everyone knows what's coming. They know what play that they're running, but they still can't stop it. And right. I'll say this, probably the biggest takeaway from last night's game was the Ravens defense played better, and the Ravens offensive line played a lot better, run blocking and pass blocking. They still had some breakdowns, and Villanueva still had some issues, but they looked a lot better. But I thought it was a great weekend of football. The Bills bounced back like I thought they would, and the Cowboys bounced back just like I thought they would, and the Saints had too much to overcome. So, we'll get into it in a minute, but I thought it was a great Sunday of action, and I loved the game on Thursday night too. I thought that game was unbelievable.
Well, first one, not to get controversial right off the bat, but we're going to have to touch on this because it's another freaking Roger Goodell makes no sense. Can he make a decision on Deshaun Watson? I mean, Tyrod Taylor got hurt. Now you're going to put Davis Mills in there without a backup for the Texans. I mean, the Texans had a chance to be almost a feel-good story. Win the first week, then upset the Browns. Tyrod Taylor, if he could have stayed healthy, maybe they had a better chance of beating the Browns, even though I was hoping the Browns would bounce back. But, I mean, can you tell us if he's suspended or not already? Can you tell the Texans and an NFL world at large whether he is eligible to play or not play? Can the Texans come out and say, well, we're paying this guy $10 million a year. I might as well call Goodell's hand and say I'm going to start him on Thursday. He's my best chance to win. But instead, I mean, I'm not a Houston Texan fan, but I'd be going crazy right now, going, what are we doing? What is the NFL doing to us? You're holding a whole fan base hostage because neither the team nor the NFL will tell anybody what's going on with Deshaun Watson.
No, I agree with you 100%. And, I've been criticized for my thoughts on the matter because I don't think it's fair to the Texans at all. Why are they getting all this, basically having their whole season be tossed up in the air because of Deshaun Watson? I mean, he signed the damn contract. Either play and go out there and, live up to your contract and play football, or B, give back the money and don't play. But this thing where they're paying him to sit on the bench makes no sense to me. I mean, I understand they're kind of waiting for the NFL to rule, but obviously the NFL is not ruling on anything and not deciding anything. So either play him or get rid of him. I mean, I think at this point they need to just move on and take a step in the other direction is my recommendation.
But what is the end game for the NFL? I don't get it, because until they make a ruling, no one's going to, even if they want to trade Deshaun Watson, no one's going to make a trade for somebody that could be suspended 6 or 8 games for all you know, or he could get suspended for a year. Who knows what he looked? There's 22 people out there that have made accusations against him. I don't know how many lawsuits there are, but the fact of the matter is that the NFL is being fair even to the rest of the teams right now. Tua, we don't know how long he's going to be down, and Deshaun Watson would love to go to Miami, but why would Miami make a trade? Bring him in and have him sitting out for 6 games, 8 games? How does that help you? Even with Tua, if he's only going to be out a week or 2 weeks, whatever, how's it going to help you? So
no, I agree with you, but I heard Adam Schefter reported that the Texans were offered 3 1s and 2 3s. I can't remember the exact package, but it was a nice substantial package, and they turned it down. And that makes no sense to me.
From who? Miami?
He didn't. I don't think he reported the team, but he reported that right before the beginning of the season that they turned down a pretty substantial offer. They were asking essentially for 3 1s and 2 2s, and I guess somebody offered 3 1s and 3 3s or 2 3s, whatever, and they turned it down. And given the circumstances, that makes no sense to me.
No, and that's why I kind of raise an eyebrow to Adam Schefter's. I know he usually is very good on this kind of stuff, but even the most insider can get bad information, because that kind of makes no sense at all. But they would just turn that down, especially even with Deshaun Watson in the best shape, being their quarterback. They were looking at a rebuilding, retooling year, whatever you want to call it, with a brand new coach and most of their established stars playing elsewhere, So I don't know.
I'd like to fix. Apparently, I was wrong. It was Jay Glazer, not Adam Schefter, and he reported, like I said, that they were offered 3 1s and 3 3s, right a couple of days before the NFL draft, and it said they had 3 or 4 teams that were very interested, and finally somebody made that offer. One of those 4 teams, which we can guess it's either the Eagles or the Dolphins or the 2 other teams that have been mentioned, and they said no, not doing it for that.
If it's true, then the GM should be fired right now. To give up 6 players for 1 is ridiculous. And you don't know who those 6 players could be. You could get 6 Hall of Famers out of that. Who knows? That's just ridiculous. That's stupid. But anyways, so you got Houston in that shape. You got Miami. Tua. They're saying he's not. It's not broken his rib, but he's in a lot of discomfort, and they're going for an MRI, I guess, tomorrow. So there's another team that right now 1-1. But who knows if this injury, this rib injury, is going to take their quarterback away. And it's like you've been talking about since we started doing the football previews. No backup quarterbacks at a lot of locations this year, including the 2 New York teams, Miami. I mean, you go up and down, and there is no backup quarterbacks in the NFL. And what happened to all of them? Where have they all gone? But it seems like there's nobody around. So you have that too. Then you have, I guess, Chicago came out and said your boy Andy Dalton's going to still stay as a starter on a bad knee.
He ain't my boy, and why they would say that, I have no idea. I don't know if Coach Nagy wants to get fired. I don't know. I don't understand what they're doing, and we've talked about it ad nauseum on the show, so I'm not going to hit on it too long. But I don't get it. It's time to move on.
Just even if you believe it, a little gamesmanship, okay? We're not sure. We'll make the announcement later on in the week. Even if you're going to go with Dalton, it forces the team you're preparing for to prepare for both quarterbacks, not knowing which quarterback will be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, why would you just announce that we're sticking with the broken water pistol
on Monday? Just go, look, you have a perfect excuse to play the game and sit there and go, he hasn't even had treatment yet. I don't know. Yeah. It could be Nick Foles. It could be Justin Fields. We will make the announcement when we know who's going to be our quarterback. Okay, you'll be the first to know, and you'll walk out of for 20 years, Bill Belichick had Tom Brady on the probable list.
Yeah.
You play with their minds. Go ahead and do it.
Yeah, and before we move on, I just wanted to touch on what you were talking about with the Dolphins. What a turn of events. I mean, this is a team that last week took down the Patriots and played a really good game. And we were talking about how they were turning the corner, and we were talking about how they won 10 games last year, and they wanted to take the next step and make a deep run in the playoffs, and it looked good week one. And we were both, I think, I don't want to speak for you, but I thought that they were moving in the right direction. And then boom, 1 week later, they're getting blown out 35-0. I mean, I picked the Bills to win this game, and I thought they would win, but I'd never in my wildest dreams thought they would win 35-0. And Jacoby Brissett played almost the whole game. Wasn't great, 24 of 40 for 169 yards, no touchdowns and a pick. But it wasn't just Jacoby. I mean, their defense was god awful, and it looked like a different team out there.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, you got to give credit to the Bills. The Bills, I think, were stinging from that loss to the Steelers. They are a championship level team. I think, sometimes a team, especially a young team, needs those little bits of reality to wake them up a little bit. And I'm sure the Bill coaching staff used this all week long about, you're going to the Super Bowl in L.A.? I hope you got tickets, whatever they had to say. And unfortunately for the Dolphins, and with Tua going down early, it was maybe an emotional storm and a perfect storm where you have a team that's just ready to kick some butt. And they kicked butt early on and got rid of their quarterback. And then all of a sudden, the Miami's looking around going, well, there goes our quarterback, and we're young and we haven't won anything yet. Sometimes the thing is, they're athletes, they're competitors, but they're human beings too. And sometimes you're just not ready for it. Maybe Miami came in running in too high, and the Bills came in at just the right level and just kicked them butt.
I get you, but I mean, why is the sky not falling in Miami? The sky's falling in New Orleans, and people are ready to ship Jameis out of town and fire the coach.
Well, Jameis, no matter what, and this is the truth, Jameis is always going to be. He's got to set his mind. If I was somebody, being that he comes from Florida State, if I was his coach, I would ask Deion Sanders to get on the phone with him and say, look, you got to set this kid's mind. He's never going to be a hero to everybody. Half of America has made their judgment through what he did or went through at Florida State. Half the people think he got away with something there. Other half of the people don't. You know what I mean? He's always going to be the guy people are looking to knock off the pedestal. They look at him, they think he's cocky. They think he's a guy who got away with some stuff in college, and unfortunately, in the pros, like you said, he was for 5,000 yards. It's like when we had the discussion: 5,000 yards, 32 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. You know what I mean? Somebody will come back. Yeah, he did this, but he didn't do this. So he is going to be one of those polarizing characters that, no matter what you say, 50% of the people are going to hate him. Look at Tony Romo when he was in Dallas. 50% of America thought he was a good quarterback, and if they ever gave him a chance, he'd be a winner. And the other half would say, but every time he's been in the playoffs, he sucks. You know what I mean? But
that was all true.
But I know. But there's certain people that are always going to be judged differently than other people. And Jameis, until he's going to have to win a Super Bowl or do something before people are going to change their minds about him. A lot of people are going to have to change their minds about him.
I know, but it's not like he hasn't won anything. He won a state championship in high school. He won a national championship in college. He won the Heisman Trophy. He was 26-0.
You have to admit that his stay at Florida State was checkered.
Not on the field.
Well, yeah, but this off the field stuff. I remember when little things. I tell you, people remember what they choose to remember. They remember the allegations. They remember him, being suspended, showing up like he was going to play, and the coach having to tell him, "No, take your stuff off." They remember the crab legs. They remember the fact that after he got drafted, what do? He puts out an Instagram with crab legs. I mean,
I didn't say that he was the most intelligent man on the planet, and that I would have him do my taxes.
But I mean, the whole thing but the whole thing is right now he is one of those people go after, but it mellows after a while. I remember I hated the University of Miami when Jimmy Johnson was at the University of Miami. If I swear, for lack of a better, if a hurricane came through and took them all out to sea, I would have said, "Oh, too bad." But I mean, after watching the 30 for 30s about them and realizing the way these guys came out of where they came from, and that's the way they had a chip on their shoulders for good reasons and things like that. It mellows you to what you saw and maybe didn't like, and then you realize maybe that the Notre Dame was kind of villains too. You know what I mean? It mellows over time, but right now, Jameis Winston is looked at as a failure that has to prove to at least 50% of America that he deserves this chance with New Orleans. And
I get that, but I'm just saying I don't understand the disbelief in his playing ability. He so far this year, he's had one game where he threw 5 touchdowns, and they whipped the ever-loving crap out of the NFC champions and won 38-3. Second game, they're down 7 coaches. They're down like 9 starters, and he didn't look good. But that's 2 games. One was unbelievable. One where they were missing a lot of pieces. Didn't go as well. I mean, how about the criticism for Alvin Kamara? He had like 8 carries for 5 yards. No one's ripping him apart.
You're not the quarterback.
I know. That's my whole point.
Look, you're not gonna put him. You're not gonna change a lot of people's opinions. He has to change the opinions of people.
I know. It's just the people that know nothing about football always blame the quarterback when they lose and give the quarterback all the credit.
Well, you know the dumbest thing I ever heard this morning? I'm listening to Sports Talk Radio this morning in New York, okay? Daniel Jones maybe had his best game as a Giant. It was against the Redskins, or not the Redskins, sorry, the Washington football team. But he had probably a mistake-free game and ran the ball well, passed the ball well, should have had another touchdown running the ball.
Yeah.
And some idiot called in this morning to Sports Talk Radio and said he's sick of Daniel Jones every week not showing up. They should trade him for Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, well, they can't. They like those people calling in because that gets people get blood boiling. I mean, that was the best game I've seen Daniel Jones play in his career, in my opinion.
Easily against a good defense.
I've got newfound hope for him after that game because I was very impressed. He finally did not turn the ball over and put it all together, running the ball, throwing the ball, leading the team. I thought he played very well.
Well, let's start right there. Let's start with that game. I mean, we opened the door. Let's start right there. We had talked about, they had to come out and show us some stuff. They did in the first half. A lot of RPOs, a lot of different things you don't usually see from the Giants. Saquon Barkley had one big run. The rest of the night he was inconsequential. I think, unfortunately for Saquon, this is what we're going to get from him this year, unless they figure out ways to get him, like you and I talked about, get him out in space, slot him, get him on linebackers, use him more of as a receiver. And if you're going to run him, find new and exotic ways to run him, not between the tackles. I don't blame him. Like I said, I've been through a major knee injury, and I stopped playing tennis. I stopped playing basketball. I stopped skiing for over a year because I had no trust in that joint, and I'm not an athlete like him. But imagine when you got 300-pound guys falling at your feet, and you just went and you got a surgery. You can't help but not have that in the back of your mind until you trust it again. So, I thought the Giants played well overall. We thought it was going to be a tough, tight game, and it was. But their defense does worry me. I mean, especially that one drive at the end of the game where it took 2 passes to get in the end zone. That worries me. Their defensive backfield is not looking good right now. And maybe that's because they don't have a really good pass rush going on. But the defensive backfield, for what it looked like, Bradbury does not look like the same player right now. And also, they got to find ways to get Galladay in. And I don't worry about the sideline antics. It's one incident. He's probably frustrated. If it keeps becoming a problem, then they'll have to address it. And hopefully Joe Judge did already. But overall, they had a chance to win it. I would have loved to see him make a real try to get a touchdown late instead of that god awful wait for a field goal, and leave.
No, I didn't like that. I didn't like the getting that turnover. The Heineke's really only mistake the entire game, and instead of being aggressive and trying to score, they ran it 3 times and kicked the field goal. It was almost like they kicked the field goal on 2nd down.
Yeah.
And I honestly believe that was one of the main reasons they lost the game. But Galladay kind of bothered me when he's over there screaming at Jason Garrett, and one of the biggest plays in the game was that beautiful pass Daniel Jones threw over the middle, about 40 yards down the field, that hit Kenny Galladay in the middle of the hands, and he dropped it. So
you mean Slayton, the end zone?
No, it wasn't in the end zone.
Okay.
But it was a long 40-yard bomb, and he was wide open, and it hit him right in the hands, and he dropped it. And it was horrible. So once you catch the football, since that's your one job, instead of yelling. But this game, Bradbury I thought played okay. He got burnt a couple times, but he finished the game with the second leading tackler on the team. He had some good stops. He had a couple passes defensed. He wasn't that bad. But I was really mainly impressed with your boy Taylor Heineke.
My boy.
This guy who has not played a lot of football, and the last 2 times we've seen him, he's played very, very well, considering the lack of opportunities he's gotten and the lack of experience he has. What he's been able to do, I think, is amazing.
Yeah, the thing is, like we said, both these quarterbacks, one has to prove he's the leader of the Giants going forward. The other one has to prove he has a chance now to prove he's more than just a backup, and just see what he can do. He's got the opportunity for the next 6 weeks. See if he can be, one of those guys that comes out of nowhere to become a starter and become a good starter in this league.
We'll see. I mean, you have to be able to stay healthy.
Is he Jake Delhomme?
He could be. I'm telling you, what I've seen from the last 2 starts, the playoff game and then Thursday night, I would have to say yes. I mean, I want to see more, and I need a bigger sample size. But from his first 2 outings, all arrows are pointing up in my estimation.
Well, we'll see. Sometimes, these drafts, these scouts aren't exactly 100%. A lot of it, they go on measurables, and, you can't measure heart. So we'll see what he does. But so far, like I said, a good game. Giants lost a heartbreaker to a point, but it was good to see Danny Dimes do something. We'll go over to the other New York team who predictably suffered a learning experience for their new hero, Zach Wilson. Although the people yelling and screaming about 4 interceptions, the first 2 were tip balls. I mean, and he's a rookie, and he's going against Bill Belichick, and and they don't have a lot of weapons around him, and he's got a rookie head coach going against Bill Belichick, and Belichick was sitting there just salivating all week, thinking of things that him and his guys could do to Wilson, and it just came out. I mean, I don't know why everybody's making a big deal out of it, because this was like as expected to me.
Well, the Jets roster is garbage to begin with, and then they've been decimated by injuries, primarily on the defensive side of the football, but are also missing several guys. Denzel Mims is still out, and they're missing guys on offense too. So yeah, I mean, he threw 4 interceptions. It didn't look good, but he was also sacked 4 times. And, Trevor Lawrence threw 4 interceptions as well. So are we going to get rid of Trevor Lawrence also? I mean, let's give him a little bit of time and see how it goes. But, yeah, I didn't expect this one to go very well for the Jets. I didn't expect it to go well for Zach Wilson. But, it's not like Mac Jones lit it up either. He handed the ball off most of the game, and he didn't throw a touchdown out, himself. So, these are rookie quarterbacks, and they're only going to learn while they're out on the field. And sometimes making mistakes is the best way to learn. And hell, he made a lot of them on Sunday.
Yeah, and so New England's back on track. The Jets are where we thought they'd be. Next game, Cincinnati against the Chicago Bears. Justin Fields had to be rushed into action, injury to Andy Dalton. First, let's go to the Cincinnati side of the ball. What do you think of what we saw in Cincinnati after coming off a big win over the Vikings the first week? They're playing tight here. I thought they had a good chance of going into Chicago and winning. What do you think Detroit got them away from it?
The offensive line. I mean, Joe Burrow had a whale of a game in week 1. But in week 2, he still had a lot of pressures in week 1 and was sacked a couple of times. And then on Sunday versus the Bears, he was sacked 4 times and he threw 3 interceptions. So, he wasn't getting the same amount of time to throw the football. He also made some bad decisions. So, once again, this is a guy who missed the end of the season last year and didn't get to work out until a couple of months before the season because of his injury, and he's still inching his way back too. So I'm not ready to get mad at Joe Burrow. I think he's proven that he can be a good quarterback in this league. The Bears defense is good. They've got some really good playmakers on that defense. Roquan Smith is one of the best linebackers in football. Eddie Jackson I really like. Obviously, Khalil Mack is still a difference maker. He had a sack. He had a tackle for loss. This is a good Bears defense. Robert Quinn looks like he's back to his old self, as he had a sack and 2 tackles for loss, a couple quarterback hits. You got Akeem Hicks, who's a really good defensive tackle against the pass and the run. So I think this was more of the defense, giving them some different looks and causing them some trouble with protection and also confusing them a little bit. So I think I still think it's a positive as far as the Bengals go. They lost by 3 points and they won week 1. So I think I'm still, on the positive side of the Bengals so far.
Well, I think Joe Burrow is going to be a good quarterback. He just got to get a team around him, and he'll be fine. I mean, he's got all the talent. He's got his head on straight, and I just think he's going to be a very good talent quarterback for a lot of years in Cincinnati, as long as they pay him and keep resupplying the team around him. We already touched a little bit on Houston, but Cleveland, slow start against Houston. I heard Baker Mayfield got dinged up a little bit with his shoulder, but it's his non-throwing shoulder, and he should be playing. And they come away with a 10-point victory, favored by 14 or 13, I think, in Vegas before the game. What about this Brown team so far? They had a great first game against the Chiefs, even though they didn't win. Should they have been ready for the Texans? Maybe pull the Bills on the Texans instead of having to work so hard for it?
Yeah, I got to be honest. I was pretty shocked when I saw the 14-all tie at halftime. I was pretty stunned by that, and I think it's more a testament to the Texans. I think we need to give David Pulley some credit for what he's done with these guys. I think he's got them playing. I think he's got a pretty decent game plan put together and a pretty decent scheme, especially for a guy who's never been a head coach before. I've been pretty impressed with what the Texans have done so far. It's just a shame that Tyrod Taylor got injured, because once he went down, I think their chances of being able to win the game went down substantially. Davis Mills is a rookie. He's never played in a game in his life. So I think the Browns were able to take over after the injury occurred.
Well, not to put the Browns on the psychiatrist's couch, should I say? But going back to, I mean, we both respect the coaching staff in Miami, and the Bills came in and just kicked butt because the Bills know that right now they're one of the three best teams, or right now one of the two best teams in the AFC. I mean, they're rated right up there next to the Chiefs. They got a lot of expectations this year. The Browns supposedly do have that. And what worries me about them is their cocky attitude might kind of submarine anything they're trying to do. You know, in football, you got to forget about what just happened and start thinking about winning this week. You know, they always talk about a series of 17 one-game win streaks or whatever you want to call it. So, you know, a little bit worried that their immaturity, they've got to show me something the next game out and start taking care of business. They're supposed to be so talented. How about a couple of, you know, I mean, they won by 10 points. Maybe I'm nitpicking here. But how about some games where it seems like they're comfortable all game long? You know?
Yeah, no, I mean, they have the talent where they should be able to take care of teams, especially like the Texans that are, you know, not as talented as they are. But it's the NFL, man. I mean, there's pretty good parity going on, in case you haven't noticed, around the league. And you know, it's not easy to win on Sunday or Thursday or Monday. And you know, it's going to be a grind. The Browns aren't sneaking up on anybody anymore. Everybody knows who they are. They know you know, that they've got a talented roster, that they won 11 games last year. So they're going to get everybody's best shot, and they're not going to get any easy victories anymore. They're going to have to earn every single one of them. And as long as they keep playing like they did against the Chiefs and you know, winning the games they should, they'll be fine. But I'm not ready to say there's problems in Cleveland just yet. I think they're doing what they should be doing thus far.
Rumor I heard yesterday morning when I was out getting some breakfast, speculation is they're not playing Beckham because they're looking to trade him.
I've heard that. I've also heard that, you know, he doesn't want to rush back. You know, and I you know what, I kind of believe that too. I think this is a guy who, you know, he loves himself, you know, maybe even a little bit more than he loves the team.
He loves him some OBJ.
He loved OBJ, loves him some OBJ. I mean, we know this, and everybody knows it. So I didn't expect him to risk his career trying to get back on the field. But I do think it's interesting that he has not played yet, and here we are, week 3, and they, you know, lost the first game and struggled in the second game. You would think they'd want to get him out there. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see if
I want to bring up one more point, and then we're going to go to the Rams taking care of business against the Indy next. But I mean, another thing you would think with him being OBJ, if he's really, you know, knowing his pride and knowing how he thinks, you would have thought he'd want to be out there against Tyreek Hill to prove that he's more explosive than him in the first week. You know what I mean? You would have thought that would be the week for him to sit there and go, everybody's talking about Hill. I can run as fast. I can do more than he can do. But like you said, he doesn't want to risk his career, or maybe the good Browns are holding him back. I don't know. Okay, Indy suffers another defeat, 3 points. Wentz goes down. We should have an over-under, you know, on that. That would have been a nice bit of money, been predictable. And now they're going to. It looks like they probably will. If it's a high ankle sprain, you're going to have Jacob Eason for the next few weeks. But first of all, the Rams 2-0. What do you think about the Rams?
Rams are looking pretty good. I mean, so far, so good on the Matt Stafford experiment. He did throw an interception, but, you know, threw 2 more touchdowns and looked solid. I mean, he's getting the ball downfield. Him and Cooper Kupp seem to have developed a really good rapport thus far. I mean, Cooper had 9 catches for 163 and 2 touchdowns. So all good from those two guys so far. And, you know, they ran for over 100 yards between Sony Michel and Darrell Henderson. So McVay's got the offense working, and I really think the Colts had a chance to come back and win this game. You know, they were right there. I think they were down 10-6 at halftime, but, scored 18 points in the second half and were right there. But, what happens? Wentz gets hurt again. I mean, this doesn't surprise me. Apparently, he sprained both ankles, which how do you sprain two ankles at the same time? I have no idea, but it doesn't surprise me or shock me considering who it is. We mentioned this weeks ago when he was hurt before he even played in one game. He was injured and had to have surgery on his foot. Then he was on the COVID list. And, both of us thought they should have brought in another quarterback. And I really, this is where Nick Foles should be on the roster right here. He could have come in and won this game for the Colts, but they chose not to sign him. And now they've got Jacob Eason, and he came in and threw 5 passes, and one of them was to the Rams. So that's why they lost.
Yep. So they're now 0-2.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's opened the door for Tennessee pretty much, especially if Wentz is going to be out for the next few weeks or whatever. He's going to be healthy again. Who knows? Moving on. Well, we talked about Buffalo, Miami. Not much to talk about there. Tua going down early didn't help, but I don't know how much he would have helped yesterday against Buffalo. They were ready to play, and they came out and played as expected for the rest of the year. You expect them to be that type of team. So 35-0, probably the worst game of the weekend to really watch. Luckily, we didn't have to watch it. Next, San Francisco again beating Philadelphia. Jimmy Garoppolo, all he does is win.
Yeah, I mean, let's start giving this guy some credit instead of wondering when he's going to be taken out. Just started the game, 22 of 30, almost 200 yards, touchdown, no interceptions. This guy wins football games, and he even ran the ball some in this game and scored a touchdown rushing. So, let's give this guy some credit. I haven't understood where all the criticism has come from. I know he did have an injury. He's had some injuries, but he plays pro football. You're going to get hurt occasionally, but I think this was a really good game. And I think, I know the Eagles lost, but I was actually impressed with the way that the Eagles played in this game. I know they were at home. I know they lost, but I still 17-11 against a pretty good Niners team that played very well. I'm still on the Jalen Hurts bandwagon, and one thing that I think may hurt the Eagles is losing Brandon Graham. He's going to be gone for the year, and that guy's not only a tremendous football player, a great pass rusher, good against the run, but he's also a pretty big time team leader for them. So I think that's going to be a pretty big loss for the Eagles.
Leadership is hard to find, and it really, you just can't you can't measure it, you can't put a dollar sign on it, but when you find a leader, you don't want to see him go down. One thing I will go back to Garoppolo for 1 minute, what reminded me when we were talking is way back when Phil Simms was the quarterback of the Giants, and he'd get booed on certain weeks, and Parcells always said, boo him if you want, but when he's gone, you're going to miss him. All I got to say to the 49er fans is boo him if you want. You want to see Trey Lance, great. But when Trey Lance comes in, look at what all these rookies are going through right now. Don't be crying. If they trade Jimmy G, there's a lot of teams that are going to need court. Look right now. There's a few places open that might sit there and go, Jimmy G would not be a bad option for us to get here and get a fully healthy quarterback, or with his experience, wouldn't be bad to go at the trade deadline. And what you're going to get with Trey Lance is a lot of what the Jets are going through, a lot of what Jacksonville's going to go through, a lot of what any rookie quarterback go through. So go ahead. Every time he comes out, it's cheer for Trey Lance. Go ahead.
He's 24-8 in his career as
right.
a starter. 24-8. And this is, the criticism against some of these quarterbacks I understand. The criticism against Jimmy Garoppolo and Lamar Jackson, I don't understand, because they win.
Right.
They win all the time. They lead their team to victories. That's what a quarterback is supposed to do.
Yeah, that's what he's measured on.
Yeah, you would think.
And all kudos to you on the next one, man. You're one who was a big Raider guy, and now 2 big wins against, potentially 2 playoff teams to start off their season. You beat the Ravens, and now you beat the Steelers. Those are 2 quality wins to start their season this year.
Well, not only that, but the win against the the win against the Ravens looks even better after the Ravens came back and beat the Chiefs the next week. So, yeah, I mean, I picked the Raiders to finish second in the division and make the playoffs, and so far they're making me look real good. But, I'm loving the passing attack. I mean, David Carr is throwing the ball around. I mean, people forget that Josh Jacobs did not play in this game. He didn't play at all. He was he was injured. He didn't play. They were having Peyton Barber was their leading rusher and leading ball carrier, which I didn't even know he was on their team. So pretty impressive to win without Jacobs, taking one snap and going into Pittsburgh and beating the Steelers a week after they took out the Buffalo Bills. So very impressed with them so far. I think Gruden has gotten into a pretty nice little groove calling plays. He's comfortable with Derek Carr. And I think we need to give Gus Bradley some credit for what he's done with this defense, giving up 17 points to the Steelers and, holding the Ravens down long enough to beat them. I think Gus Bradley's done a pretty good job so far, considering this defense was Swiss cheese last year.
Yeah, when we talk about quarterbacks not getting enough credit, quarterbacks getting too much blame, Derek Carr is a forgotten man. I mean, no one he doesn't even come up. He doesn't come up in the conversation as a bad quarterback. Doesn't come up in the conversation as a good quarterback. It's like he doesn't even exist. No one ever talks about him. It's so strange, and he is a good quarterback.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I remember that year they went when Jack Del Rio was the coach, and they won 12, 13 games, and
then he broke his leg.
Yeah, and then he broke his leg, and then all of a sudden it was just like no one even remembered what they had done. And I think he's had a tremendous career, and I think he's a really good quarterback. And if you go back and watch that Ravens game, especially, I know there was the one pick, but that ball was catchable. That guy Willie Snead, that was his first play that he had been in the game, and if he'd if he'd have been awake, he might have caught that ball. So 28 of 37 for 382 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 126.2 rating. I think people need to start giving Derek Carr his credit.
That's for sure. Carolina over in New Orleans. We covered a lot of this already with talking about Jameis and stuff. But the one thing I want to talk about is about this aspect of it. I don't want to, Sam Darnold. I want to get Matt Rule as a coach he seems to be making some changes down there in Carolina. A tough act to follow, but Ron Rivera, who was a good coach down there, but Matt Rule seems to have a pretty good handle for a college coach of what the pro game is.
No, I agree. I mean, if you watch that game, he had a game plan. He had a scheme that he thought they could use and beat the Saints, and it worked. Their defense, if you recall, last year they selected all defensive players with their entire draft, and Jeremy Chin was in that draft class. Derek Brown was in that draft class. A lot of guys that they have. Gross Matos was in that draft class. A lot of guys that are now starting were selected in that draft. And if you watch that defense on Sunday, it looks like a different defense from a couple of years ago, when Rivera was there and, kind of the last years of Cam falling apart. They've completely reworked that defense. And I do think Matt Rule is doing a pretty good job. I thought he did a good job last year in his first season with a roster that was pretty crappy. They were in a lot of those games, and they were right there. They kind of got beat at the end, as me and you talked about last year when we were watching those games. But this year they're kind of turning those into victories, and they're 2-0. And I think people need to take notice, because I certainly did not pick the Panthers to start off 2-0. And I've been surprised by how well they played.
Well, now we'll go a little bit. I mean, Denver, I'm not trying, not because I'm a Giant fan, but I mean, They come off kicking the Giants' butt. They get Jacksonville. And don't they have the Jets next?
I believe so. Let me. Yes, they do play the Jets.
Even though I picked them to be number 2 in the division, you made fun of me for that. And I guess rightfully so. But I mean, they could easily be 3-0 after in first place after 3 games. In I don't know if they deserve it. I mean, I root a little bit for Teddy Bridgewater to get it, but my God, it's just like after the Giants laid an egg, could you have a better setup than to have Jacksonville followed by the Jets?
No, it's true, and they probably will be 3-0. In fact, I will be picking them this week to beat the Jets. But after that, things get a little harder. They play against the Ravens. They go to Pittsburgh. Then they come home and play the Raiders. Then they go to Cleveland. Then they welcome Washington. Then they play the Cowboys, Eagles, Chargers, Chiefs. So, they might start 3-0, but things are going to get a little harder for them after that.
A little complicated fast.
Yeah, things are going to get tricky real quickly.
Yeah. Arizona broke Minnesota's hearts, 34-33. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I'll let you figure this game out. I mean, I don't know whether Arizona's that good. Minnesota is that bad. They both just played a good game against each other. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I think the Vikings are pretty good and are playing pretty well. I mean, they lost in overtime week 1 against the Bengals 27-24, and then they lose on a missed field goal at the end of the game 34-33 against the Cardinals. So, they're 0-2, but I know this doesn't mean anything, but I think they're probably the best 0-2 team out there right now. And I know Don Zimmer doesn't care about that, nor do the Vikings fans. The question is, will they be patient with Zimmer? Because I think some of these guys, some of these fans, and some of the people in the building there are at their end of the rope with Zim.
Well, I think they've given him a long time, and he came close that 1 year to get him to the Super Bowl, and then they get rid of everybody. Now they're rebuilding it's hard to get a pulse on what they're doing up there. And he has been there for a long period of time. And still, even though he's been in the playoffs and sometimes been better than Green Bay still rules that division. And Minnesota people want to take that back, I think. I think Zimmer's one of those guys that the good thing he's got going for him, they weren't division games.
Right. So, and if you recall, the only team I think that's won a game so far is the Bears.
Right.
The Lions haven't won yet. They play tonight. The Packers haven't won yet. They play tonight. So one of those teams is going to be 0-2 also, and one of the other teams is going to be 1-1. So, based on the fact that all the teams in the division lost week 1, they're not in that big of a hole, and they still have a chance to compete for that division, but they better get going quick, and they better figure out how to win games at the end really soon, because you don't want to drop to 0-4 or 0-3. The probability of making the playoffs after doing that drops dramatically.
And also your division games, you better be ready for them. Tampa Bay took care of business against Atlanta as expected, 23 points. I think right now, if the injury bug doesn't hit Tampa Bay, it's pretty much going to be they'll have a letdown in one game and lose it. I could see them doing a 15-2, even a 16-1 season. Who knows? I mean, right now, there's nothing that can stop them right now except themselves. I don't know. I'd have to look at their schedule to pick the game I think they're going to be in trouble with, but they look like they're going to do a victory lap. But see what they'll be like coming to the playoffs.
Well, we'll see how it goes this week. They play at the Rams.
That could be the game
this week. So I think it's on Sunday. It's a 4:25 game on Fox. We'll see how good they are on Sunday. They play the Rams and then they go to New England. So Rams, Patriots, Dolphins, Eagles. They got a couple of tests coming up, and the Cowboys gave them everything they wanted, and certainly if they actually call that offensive pass interference call, they could have easily lost that game. So we'll see how it goes against LA. Maybe Aaron Donald will throw TB12 on his back a few times. That would make me happy.
Could be. All right, and then we got Dallas that squeaked out one against the Chargers. A little bit of a controversial call there when they called a sack on what looked to be Herbert throwing the ball away. I don't know. To me, I think they're trying to save the quarterback, and he was in the grasp really when he threw it away. I mean, I don't know how big I would make a deal out of that one. I don't know. What did you see it?
Yeah, I did. I didn't really have a problem. I mean, out of all the calls I saw this weekend, I didn't really have a ton of a problem with that one. My biggest takeaway from this game is the defense. Dan Quinn has completely turned this defense around. I mean, I know Justin Herbert threw for 300-something yards, but they only scored 17 points.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, if you think back last year, the Cowboys – giving up 17 points didn't happen very often. I mean, they didn't hold anybody 17 points or under, I think, at least the last 10 games of the year. So that, I think, was a good thing. And then also the Cowboys ran the football. Tony Pollard ran for over 100 yards. Zeke had 71 yards and ran for over 4 yards a carry. So I think with Zach Martin back in the lineup, this offensive line played a lot better.
Well, also, and the other thing that stuck out for me was Dak Prescott threw the ball only half the amount of times they had him throw the first. They committed to running the ball. You know, I mean, we talked about it on our show last week with Mike McCarthy. I told you, you got a guy with supposedly a bad arm, and you got him throwing the ball 60 times. And in the NFL, you don't want your quarterback hanging out throwing the ball 60 times. He's going to get hit too many times on that.
Well, especially when you're playing against the greatest quarterback of all time. Let's see how many times we can throw it and, get incompletions and give the ball back to him. I mean, run the damn ball and keep the guy on the sidelines, and maybe we have a different outcome. So I agree with you. I didn't understand why they went away from the run so quickly last week. I know that they didn't have a ton of success in the first half, but let me tell you what, you're not going to have any success if you quit doing it.
Yeah. And then Tennessee goes up. We both thought they were going to lose going up there to the House of Pain up in Seattle, the house that Grunge built. And they come away with a 33-30 overtime victory, kind of a normal Tennessee-type victory. Play it close to the vest, win in the end. Did what they had to do. As you talked about, Henry coming out and running the ball in the second half, doing his job. And a good victory. That was a needed victory for Tennessee after their first week. I think a real big shot in the arm they needed.
It was huge. I mean, it was doom and gloom at halftime, man. It was 24-9, and things were not looking good. I have to be honest. I mean, Tannehill got sacked a few times. Derrick Henry, there were no holes to run through. They were having trouble on defense, stopping Russ. Letting guys get behind him. Tyler Lockett was running all over their ass. Julio Jones was non-existent. And then in the second half, it was completely different. Julio Jones showed up, caught 6 passes, 128 yards, and the King got rolling, man. Once the King gets rolling, it's hard to stop the King. And my God, he was unbelievable. And he was a one-man wrecking crew, 35 carries, 182 yards, 3 touchdowns. Let's just be honest. I mean, there's a guy who's 6'4", 6'5", 250 pounds, and he's faster than everybody. He had a 60-yard run where he just was running away from guys. I mean, Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry are the two biggest difference makers in the NFL, in my opinion, and they can turn a game on a dime, and that's what Derrick did.
Yeah, he took over the game and won the game for them. And a big game when you figure the Colts going down again. Yeah, the Texans going down. We don't even talk about Jacksonville now, but I mean that's a real big game for them.
And they're 0-2, so it was a big win for them. And people don't realize also, Derrick Henry had 6 catches for 55 yards, so he had over 240 yards of offense, and really, really took this team on his back, which shouldn't shock anybody.
And then the last game, the best game of the day, Baltimore wins in the end over Kansas City. Huge victory for the Ravens, coming back from their disappointment against the Raiders. Also bringing, Kansas City back to keeping them within striking distance for everybody. It's one of those games where, in a way, this could be what we're going to see come January in the championship game. These two guys hooking up, and you hope that one lives up to what this game did.
Yeah, no, definitely. I all the amazing plays in this game by Lamar Jackson, were unbelievable to watch, and just this is what the NFL is all about. But the biggest part of the whole game to me was, after the interception, Baltimore got the ball back, and you could tell that, they knew they were going to run it. They were committing 10 guys in the box, stopping the run. They finally pop one where they got a couple of, got some yardage. I think they got like 2 yards on first down, like 3 yards on second down. So they get it down where it's 4th and 1. And there's about a minute left, or he's going to get the ball back with about 50 seconds or more, maybe a minute. And it's 4th and 1, and Harbaugh looks at Lamar and he says, "Lamar, do you want to go for this?" You can see him say it. And he goes, "Lamar, do you want to go for this?" And Lamar looks at him and goes, "Hell yeah, I want to go for this." And so he runs a play with Lamar running the ball, and he goes forward and gets the yard, and it's over. So that's talking about a coach who has a lot of faith in his man. And cool to see.
I remember the famous Flutie game years ago when I was watching that game, and it was the end of the game. And I remember Bernie Kosar coming to the sideline, and Jimmy Johnson was going to kick a field goal. And luckily they didn't have the microphone, but it was like, F it, we're going for it. And they scored on the next play with Melvin Broughton. But you got to have that kind of a trust with your quarterback. And there's times when, as a coach, you want him to say, "Yeah, let's go for it. Let's do it. I got it. I got this one." That's what he was looking for. That's what the relationship's supposed to be about, mutual trust. And
I strongly doubt that Lamar was going to go, no, let's punt it away.
Any quarterback worth his salt would sit there and go, "No, let's go, let's do it."
I know, but I just thought it showed that how much faith the coach had in Lamar, asking him what he wanted to do. And I thought it was pretty cool. And hell, they didn't stop him all day, so I didn't expect him to stop him on that play. But honestly, the Kansas City defense, I think, has improved. Steve Spagnuolo, played pretty well and had made some plays. They had 2 interceptions and caused some turnovers, and at times, were able to stop the Ravens. But in the end, Lamar was just too much.
A lot of people sit there and go, and when you say something like that, and go, gave up 30-something points. Yeah, but here's the deal. In a heavyweight bout, everybody's nose is going to get bloody. Both their noses are going to get bloody. So you're not going to keep Mahomes and Jackson out of the end zone. It's just a matter of who's going to have the ball last in that competition. And anybody who sits there and goes, "Well, the defense did what they could against 2 of the most dynamic performers we've ever seen." We don't know, the way they look right now, they're both going to Canton on a skyrocket, But for right now, you're watching 2 things like it's that the famous thing, the golf statement about Tiger Woods. He plays a game I've never seen before.
Yeah.
People can bring up Randall Cunningham. They can bring up Michael Vick. They can bring up, Archie Manning, or they can bring up Joe Montana. These guys play a different game. It's a weird game. They incorporate street yard into the function of a game plan, and not too many people can do that.
No, and my biggest thing, in the game today is, you're not going to hold everyone. I mean, there's not many games anymore that are 6-3. I mean, when I was a kid, you'd see games all the time where the final score was 10-7. I mean, that happened all the time. That doesn't happen anymore. But the question is, can you get a stop when you need one?
Right.
Can you scheme it up where you can get them to do a 3-and-out when you need the ball back? I mean, that's what I signify as being able to be a good defensive coach and having a good defensive performance is, can you get the other team off the field when you need to? And they were able to do that some last night.
It's you bring the vocabulary of the NBA into it. Can you get the stop when you need it on defense?
It's the same thing in the NBA now. I mean, there's 100. It's 109 to 107. But if you need to stop at the end, can you get one? And
exactly,
that's what it comes down to.
And I mean, for traditionists like me, I still favor the low-scoring defensive battles, but it is fun to watch. I got to admit that. So,
yeah, if you like football, I don't know how you couldn't enjoy that game last night. It was pretty exciting, and those are two of the best, if not the two best, younger quarterbacks in the league for sure.
All right, well, we're about to wrap up because we're going to watch the Green Bay Detroit game. We're not sure on Thursday night this week. We might have this show or might have my new show, which is Hanging in the Ivies, talking about the Ivy League football. I'm trying to hook up some people over that in case Nate's not available. So there will be a show on Thursday night. Plus, we have huge get for Sunday on the man coverage with Nate and Rico. Phil Fulmer, the legendary Tennessee coach, is going to be on at 11 o'clock on Sunday morning. So go and talk about that, Nate.
Yeah, we're pretty excited. This is a guy that I've loved since I was a little kid, man. I've looked up to this guy, and I've, one of the greatest college football coaches of all time. I mean, one of the winningest coaches of all time. And let's just be honest, they kind of run him out of town here, and they haven't been relevant in college football since. So that shows you how much he meant to this program and to that team at Tennessee. And not only is he an excellent football coach and a Hall of Fame national championship winning football coach, but he's also a really great guy, really good family guy, and a really great man. I mean, talk to Rico, who played for him, and the reason Rico went to Tennessee was that he loved Coach Fulmer, and he still loves him. So we're really looking forward to having him on the show and getting to talk to him, and having a Hall of Famer on the show. It doesn't get much better than that.
Well, I'm not going to make your picks now. What you can do is if we're not going to do the show on Thursday, you can email the picks and I'll announce them on the air. Because, I mean, we don't know who's playing. It would be unfair right now in case somebody's not playing, whatever. But anyways, you were 2-0 or 1-1 last week.
2-0 week one, and last week I did pick the Saints, but they were shorthanded. They didn't play well either, so I was wrong. But you know what? I'm not ready to give up on Sean Payton. I'm not ready to give up on Jameis. They had a bad game, but I expect corrections to be made, and also they're not going to be down 9 dudes and 7 coaches next game. So we'll see what happens.
And I just want to say, Jameis, if you're listening, man, send us some crab legs. Your boys, he defends you every week, Sam. Send us some crab legs. Do something for us.
Hey, I'm not defending nobody. He's a grown ass man. He can take care of himself. Plus with the money he makes, I'm sure he could care less what we think of him. But he has had success as a quarterback, in the NFL and in college. We'll see if he can put it together, man. I mean, this has been his problem. It's one great game, one not so great game. The question is, can he put together those great games and put them together in a string? And that's what's hard to do.
There's been a million of them out there. Bobby Hebert, Jeff George. I mean, I've seen a bunch of these guys go through, and you sit there and go, why can't they do it every week? But we'll see.
Yeah.
He's got the quarterback whisperer, like we said last week. The guy made a Super Bowl quarterback out of Kerry Collins, for God's sake. So, I mean, if anybody can do it, it can be done by Sean Payton. But we'll leave it at that. Everybody enjoy the game Monday night. We'll let you know which show is going to be on Thursday. And like I said, really mark your calendars for Sunday morning. Coach Fulmer, that should be a really big show.
Looking forward to it.
And we'll be back.
All right, guys. Good night.